presents Behind the Blind Podcast.
Welcome back. Excited to have another episode in this off season of Behind the Blind, brought to you by Double T British Kennels. For more than 20 years, Double T British Kennels have imported dogs directly from Great Britain to build superior bloodlines. Their top of the line dogs are proven in the field and major field trials. Learn more at britlabs.com and tell them that Heartland Waterfowl sent you. My name is Ronnie Philips. This is something that's fairly new. We've obviously had the Behind the Blind podcast for a couple of years now, but it's typically just been something that we've done on the road, and we're getting ready to go on the road again. And so where I'm going with that is that you can follow Heartland Waterfowl on the road with us in camp as it's happening. We try to turn around these podcasts in a timely fashion. Sometimes in the past, they've been a little bit delayed because we've had bad internet service, but thanks to Elon Musk and the fine people at Starlink, we have purchased some of their great products to have great internet on the road with us, which means then we can bring you content in a more timely fashion. And so we start our season in North Dakota, early honker season in North Dakota here. I think we leave August 22nd. Actually, I say I'm not going. My daughter's birthday is on August 23rd, so I'm not going to be able to make that trip because I'm going to celebrate my young Reagan turning 12 years old. But the rest of the guys are going to be up there doing the early Canada Goose season in North Dakota. And that means Behind the Blind podcast coming your way from camp, and we'd love for you to tune in and see what's going on as we launch a brand new season, which will be our 13th season of Heartland Waterfowl. So been fun to have a few people on the podcast. We have Nolan May from Carlson's Choke Tubes. We did a podcast with Buck and Jay over at Dirty Duck Coffee. Who else am I missing here? We had Terry Denman from Mojo Outdoors. And this week, and I'm excited for this because we've got a lot to talk about. Welcome, my good friend, Logan Williamson. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah. How about that? Logan Williamson from First Lite, the product director. How you doing, pal?
Oh, doing great. And what an opportunity to come on with the Ronnie Philips on his podcast.
Well, it's the Heartland Waterfowl podcast. I can't take all credit for it, but I've been cut from a cloth of having a few years of knowing how to gab, so they kind of let me run with it. But this is really cool. This has been a long time coming that we've been able to schedule a time to come on here and have a conversation. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You've obviously been busy with traveling. There's new product to talk about. I just found out you just got engaged and you've got a bachelor party coming up this weekend. So I'm a little butthurt in the fact that I thought we were friends and that I would know about this. I want to go on this bachelor party. There's no possible way I can do it because of schedule, but it sounds like you're probably going to throw a hell of a party and have a great time.
It's going to be fun. Back home in Michigan, got all the boys from college, from high school, heading up north to do. And it's funny being back in the Midwest, you can say up north and just like automatically everyone knows like what that means. Like you're going to be by water
Right.
just by saying that. But no, it's good. We're going to do some salmon fishing. We're going to play some golf, and it'll be pretty low key. I scheduled it in the middle of nowhere quite intentionally. A couple of my boys are a little rowdy, and I figured, the more in the middle of nowhere we can be, the safer we are.
Okay. So I've heard people say this before, like I've got some rowdy friends, and then, I look at the personality of the people or the person I'm talking to when they say that. And I'm like, okay, what's your level of rowdy? Because I've seen people say rowdy and it's really, in my opinion, kind of mild. But I think I know you well enough to know that if it's rowdy, then this is like, hey, we could be playing in the middle of 18 holes of golf and all of a sudden there's a bet and now somebody's playing the next hole in their underwear.
That's absolutely true. But I will say, like, some reserved people, like, got to have rowdy friends in the crowd to balance each other
That's
out.
right.
Like, so you got to balance the friend group out, and every friend group's got one or two of those guys you got to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely. So it has been a busy year, though. I mean, fortunately, you're going to be able to have some time off, and you're going to be able to go up north and hang with your friends and celebrate is it the last weekend of being a bachelor, or is it just the bachelor weekend?
No, I wish. Man, as soon as
when's the wedding day?
October. As soon as this
Okay.
wedding planning stuff can be over with, the better. But no, really looking forward to that. But it is no, still a couple months out. But it's coming fast.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Did you pick that month because that's the date she wanted?
Oh no, I was the biggest proponent of October. It is
Why?
like,
I mean, you're getting right there into the meat of the, like, especially because I know you like to elk hunt, right?
No, listen, this was very intentional. This is
Okay.
October 3rd, and it is right after elk season ends.
Okay.
It is the weekend before duck opens in our unit. and
Okay.
it is 2 weekends before deer season opens. So it is the
Very
perfect storm.
there's a method to the madness. It was
Absolutely.
very strategically placed. So like I know that in my upcoming hunting seasons, this is the one weekend I'm going to have off to be able to give my bride the utmost attention.
You got it. You got it. Now, I don't know how much elk hunting I'm going to get in this year, how much archery elk hunting I'm going to get in this year, but yeah, no, it was very intentional that weekend, and we're looking forward to it. Now, our guests not that happy about it. They're like, you picked the one weekend that nothing is in season,
Yeah,
to have us all out here. But
that's hilarious.
No, we're looking forward to it.
Well, all joking aside, man, congratulations. Super happy for you. What's your fiance's name?
Claire.
Claire, you did good. Okay. Regardless of what any of his buddies say and say that he outkicked this coverage, which I'm sure he probably did. You didn't just completely say yes to a knucklehead. We do love Logan. And so I'm proud of and happy for both of you.
Oh, thanks,
so
man.
Give
me your Venmo afterwards. I'll make
That's
sure to
right.
give you that
That's
20
right.
bucks for
the bill is in $20,
$20,
buddy, that you shot a little low there. Kidding. Man, it has been such a hell of a ride. And when I say hell of a ride, like a hell of a fun ride since Heartland Waterfowl came over to First Lite. Man, the gear that we have with you guys, I don't want to throw shade at anybody that we've worked at in the past. I don't believe on that. I don't believe in that, but I can confidently say that our guys absolutely love the gear. We probably have a little bit of a addiction to the point to where we're like constantly on the website looking at what's, what don't we have? Because it's like we have like I'm looking over here, like all my gear is spread out over here because I was trying to organize it the other day. And I'm like, God, I have a lot of First Lite gear. Do I really need this much? But you just never know. Like there's certain times, certain situations that call for a certain thing. And you almost, it's kind of like that. What's that? FOMO, fear of missing out. Like if I don't have that product, I'm going to be thinking about it psychologically when I'm in the field. And so I don't want to be in the field and think, man, I wish I would have bought that. I could you really use that right now. So we love it, man. I mean, I hesitate to say this because again, I don't want to throw shade at anybody else, but it's the best stuff we've ever worn, man. We love it.
Well, I really appreciate that, man. And I think like you have to have a very objective point of view when you're evaluating gear, like especially in a position like me and the development team are in. It's like you can't build the best gear or strive to build the best gear unless you understand what the best gear is on the market, right?
Yeah.
So like, and it comes from all over the place. It comes from Bandit, comes from Drake, comes from Sitka. Like everyone's got some like really good products out there, and so it's like really important to benchmark yourself against like where the market's at, where it's been, and like how you can help move it forward. And that's all we're trying to do. And I think we've got some really good products that have done that over the last couple of years.
We're definitely going to talk about one new product that is going to be it's already been announced, so there's really no secret to it. And we're going to get into the depths of what that product is and how it's now going to be such an important staple to the waterfowl line of gear at First Lite. But we're going to get to that in just a minute. I want to get the people to know you a little bit better from the standpoint of bringing bringing a personality or a face to the image of First Lite. And what I mean by that is you're so highly involved because you are the director of product, right? It says that there in your title. So there's really like, you are the one who says yay or nay on any new concept that might be given. Are you involved in the actual, like you make the final decision, I would think, but at the same time, are you the innovator of that? Like, are you coming up with the ideas? So that's one point to my question. But then the other part of this is like, this isn't your first rodeo. You've worked in the product side for a long time. And when we look at you, you're not an old guy. Like, how old are you?
34.
Okay. You're a relatively young guy who's got some pretty big shoes to wear for a really important company, like a really big quality company. How did, I throw in a lot of questions at you. I'm sorry. So the lack of professionalism is really shining through here, but how did you get here? How did you get here to be the product director of First Lite?
No, that's a great question. And I'll tackle that one first. It was, so I had an opportunity at Under Armour out of college, and not like a glamorous job either. I was team sports customer service rep. So servicing small mom and pop shops that serviced everyone from like your local softball team who needed to have team shirts made all the way up to the University of Notre Dame, which is really cool. Yeah, it was cool, man. And a great way to just learn the business. I mean, honestly, it was anyone who's worked customer service, who's listening in any capacity that's listening to this podcast can know that it is just like a very thankless job. It is very, very hard. But honestly, thinking back of just like how I cut my teeth in the apparel industry, you know, it taught me so much just about how things move within a company, you know, talking to customers, just like that, those one-on-one interactions with both end use customers and, you know, wholesalers. So no, it really gave me a great foundation. And then, you know, one day on the internal, you know, website, they had posted for an associate product line manager position for the hunting and fishing team. And so I jumped all over that, had the opportunity to go out for beers with a couple of the hiring managers, and the rest is history. I worked there for about 7 years, and then was working for a tactical company down in Virginia Beach. And I was honestly, this might be TMI, but I'm literally sitting on the can, like scrolling Instagram, and First Lite had posted a position for a PLM, for actually a Western big game PLM position. And I had a couple of friends that had worked with some of the leadership at previous jobs. And I said, hey, you know, could you make a call for me? And so that got me the interview, and I went for the interview. And what's really interesting is at that time, you know, I thought I was interviewing for this Western big game position. And near the end of the interview, they said, you know, we're really thinking of branching into, you know, other categories. And I, for whatever reason, immediately I was like, oh, they want to go after fishing. Like that's a natural extension for them. You know, there's so much fishing in the West, like that's what they want to get into next. So I quickly jumped down that rabbit hole with them, and they were like, yeah, but what about waterfowl? And at the time, you know, I was living in Maryland, living in the Chesapeake, and and that's really where I fell in love with waterfowl, you know. And it certainly isn't what it used to be, and neither is the Great Lakes Flyway. And being back here, you know, I listen to my dad every night talk about how good it used to be. I'm like, yeah, but you guys were probably shooting lead, weren't you? No, just no. It used to be the migrations have just shifted so much, and you know, I feel so bad for, you know, some of those the goose guides and goose outfits on the Eastern Shore of Maryland that have, you know, they had to go through just some years of like 1 and 2 geese limits. You know, it's tough to make a living on that, and just for recreational hunters, it's tough to justify all the
let me go out and buy $30,000 worth of gear so I can kill 2 geese at best each time I go.
Exactly. So anyways, yeah, no, they asked me there, what do you think about waterfowl? And I was like, yeah, you know, I love waterfowl. That's awesome. And they were like, all right, well, you're under NDA, so you can't tell anyone this, but we want to get into waterfowl. Like, how would you feel about that position? And immediately my brain was like, yeah, do I want to, you know, focus on a consumer group that wants to get up in the morning and hike 3,000 vertical feet and they might see an elk a mile away? Or do I want to focus on the guys that are bringing bacon into the blind every morning? And it was an easy decision. I was like, no, I love waterfowl. I know that customer. I've been ingrained in it for the last couple of years, and like it would be absolutely awesome. So they brought me on as the waterfowl PLM, and you know, been doing that ever since. And incredible over the last couple of years. There's been some key departures just from people that I absolutely loved, and other category managers that I had worked with, and now here I am, and 5 years later, and helping lead the department for sure.
That's incredible, man. I have to ask this though, and I don't know if anybody cares, but this is the goober in me that just thinks of these questions. You talked about falling into Under Armour right out of college. Were you going to college on the East Coast?
No, I actually played ball at a like very small Division II school, and like, I'm not tooting my own horn here. I was a backup wide receiver, played a lot of special teams, but I don't regret a day of my life.
Where at?
It taught me so much. A small school called Northwood University in Midland, Michigan.
Okay.
But no, it was great experience. And like I said, it's not like I was handed some nice cushy role there either. It was definitely it
was a foot in the door.
Started from the bottom. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was the first job right out of college?
Right out of school, yep.
So man, that is such a blessing. That's incredible.
I mean, yes and no. You're on a phone queue for like 10 hours a day. So
But how long did that last? I mean, that's the sacrifice anybody really has to pay whenever they're really getting started. I mean, I
you're right.
remember
You're
in whatever,
absolutely right.
I mean, everybody pays their dues in some extent, but look where it got you, right?
Yeah.
Would you do it all over again? Every
100%.
freaking time,
Yep.
every time. And so when you moved to Maryland or you moved to Baltimore, right? Because that's where Under Armour is based out of. You were there for 7 years. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. And then when you worked for a technical company after that, we'll pass that and talk about when you went to First Lite. Did that take you back to the Northwest then, or do you get to work remotely?
No, yeah, no. So I moved, honestly, when they offered me the job, they were like, how long is the transition going to take? And I was like, if you guys help me break my lease, like I can be out there like next week.
Yeah.
So just literally loaded up the truck, rented a big U-Haul trailer, and just headed west, drove for like 30 hours straight, and got there, and haven't looked back. I mean, I love it out there so much. And it is good being home. I miss the water. I miss the lakes so much. Not to say that we don't have alpine lakes, but lake life, as I'm sure you can attest, like last time we were down in your neck of the woods, like you guys understand.
Yeah.
Like pontoon life. That's what we're talking about here.
Sure. No, you can't beat it. You really can't. And there's so many memories that are made on the lake, whether you're with your friends or family or kids, whatever it is. So definitely that definitely resonates with me. Let's talk about then kind of the mission. I guess I'll call it like the mission statement of First Lite. Like, was First Lite relatively new to you or the brand when you learned of this? Like, what did you really know about First Lite when you were hired or were actually pursuing the job?
I mean, just that, like, they, and at the time I had such limited experience in the industry. I mean, limited. It was 7 years, but at Under Armour, we were an East Coast company that was moving west, and I just always knew First Lite as being, a Western company that was moving their way east.
Okay.
For sure. Like they cut their teeth in backcountry ultralight hunting, and it definitely, obviously, more Western big game oriented. And then whitetail just absolutely caught on fire with our customer base, because it turns out the evolution of that customer, that whitetail hunter, is looking for more and more of the same things: layering systems, lighter. Our tagline, as you said, is go farther, stay longer. And you think about the way that today's whitetail hunter hunts, and it's so much of the same. They're going farther, and then no one's staying longer, especially in one spot without moving, than a whitetail hunter.
Sure. I had this question and I forgot to ask it. So when you were in college and were you pursuing a job for something in the outdoor space? Was it your hope to do something in product development, as far as like apparel, like you're doing? I mean, was it just kind of an accident how this all came together? What did you want to be when you grew up?
That's very funny. So, when I was in high school, so I grew up just south of Muskegon, Michigan, which is home to ScentLock. And I actually worked for ScentLock in just like a very small, activation type role during high school, but got an opportunity to really had a fire lit underneath me by Greg Susselman, who's the owner and founder of ScentLock at the time. And he was just such a great guy, and spent so much time with me. I remember going over and shooting bows at his house. But I mean, he was a materials engineer that had studied at Michigan Tech, and it was just he lit a fire under me that I wouldn't know would come really to fruition, or what kind of fire it even was, or how to wrap my hands around it until much later in life. But looking back on it, I owe so much to him, and just the inspiration that he gave me in innovating in the hunt space. Because I mean, honestly, like, that was one of the major innovations. I mean, next to Gore-Tex, like ScentLock early on was just such a major innovation in the hunt space, because there wasn't a ton of innovating that was happening there. So no, that I really look back on it and thank him so much for the inspiration and taking the time to just like take a young guy with interest who was in high school. Like, I remember my mom dropping me off for my first meeting with him at their headquarters. Like, I had to be dropped off because I was 15, like couldn't drive myself there, and I was wearing like a polo tucked into khakis with like, it was just bad. It was just bad.
So hard to be
He's trying
professional.
so hard to be
Yeah.
professional. Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I owe so much to him. And then, looking back, my, I graduated with a BBA, just like in, what is my degree in marketing and management, which is just like a good general business degree.
Sure.
But we had an incredible fashion merchandising program, and but no football players were part of the fashion merchandising program. Like they're like,
I get
it's
it.
a heavily female dominated major there. So, but looking back on it, I absolutely would have helped set me up more for success. So, I had the business sense, and, being in the role that I am, like I had to learn the product and creative side. I had a good business foundation underneath me. And like I said, the customer service side of things for 2 years really, really helped me grow and helped me learn a lot, especially on the business side, how product flows, how money flows, operations, how things move through a warehouse, servicing a customer, billing, shipping, receiving, like all of it, it helps so much. But, and then just having to learn the creative side of it really on the fly. But had some great mentors, over the years, and I've been very, very fortunate and blessed in that. And that's how I got to where I am today.
I've hit you with so many different questions. I'm trying to remember everything that I've asked, because there's times I probably asked 2 or 3 questions inside of one. So let's go to where I was asking about what you knew when you got to First Lite. And so were there any surprises? Like you got there and you're like, oh, wow, these guys are for real. Like not that you didn't think they were for real in the beginning, but like maybe it elevated the level or surprised you, or you were like, okay, this is a little bit further beyond what I was expecting, but in a good way. And then here I go with asking 2 questions inside of one. How much is this on your shoulders as far as being innovative, creating the new products? Do you have the final seal of approval? Is it something where you create something, you get it a sample made, you pitch it to the executives or the board to get their approval on whether or not they want to invest in that product? How does that all work?
Oh shit, Ronnie, I wish I had the final seal of approval on everything. My life would be so much easier, but no, our team has evolved and grown, and we have so mmany great players on our product team that have helped build it into what it is, and people who are no longer here that have helped build it into what it is. I'd like to give a shout out to Pat Biernick, who's our director of product development. Who's got designers and product developers and material developers underneath of her. And she has so much experience. I mean, she's worked at, she was at Sims right before this. She was at Climb. Our designer, Kelsey, design manager, Kelsey, who I actually was one of the designers I worked with at Under Armour directly. I mean, our desks were 20 feet apart, and she moved to Eastern Idaho, started working for Climb, and that's how she knew Pat. So it's a small industry, but it's just so great that, you get to meet these great people. And then, even if your paths split at one point, like there's a very high percentage chance that you're gonna link up with them again. And Pat, had worked previously with Greg, who's our materials manager, when he was at Sims. And so now we've got such a great team. And honestly, my role is as a director of product is trying to present problems to the designers, and the problem could be like, hey, this product is just getting old, it's getting long in the tooth, it needs a refresh, and before we see sales start dropping off, like we need to keep on top of it, and keep innovating there. And it could be like, oh, this is a gap in the market, this is something that we're not addressing, this is something that no one is addressing, and that we really need to like I think of our the new mid layer that we launched just recently, the Navigator hoodie, and it's such a great piece, but we really didn't have anything in the line for like that active insulation. And when I say active insulation, like, yeah, it's great to hike up a mountain in the morning when you're elk hunting, but also, man, if you're setting 10 dozen goose decoys in the morning, like you're going to work up quite a lather, and just like having a piece that, so like we really didn't like have, an active insulation piece in the line. So, we bring that to the designers and the material development team. And, we talk about like, how can we address this? And then we absolutely, we float our the things that we want to do in front of marketing, in front of leadership, in front of the board. And, we get sign off on things along the way. And, there's always some pushback one way or another. Generally it's our operations team telling us we have too many colors in one style, but, no, it's a very collaborative process, and I'm thankful for it. And I would say, just circling back to your original question of like, was there anything that surprised me?
Right.
Is, when I was at Under Armour, like being in the outdoor department, like we were very secluded. Like we were the people that were like plucking ducks and geese at the office and like getting dirty looks from like the women's training team. Like we were firing up the Traeger outside, like on the promenade while yoga classes were going on, and like, which is good. Like we were the ones that always ruffled feathers, and like that was good.
You were the rowdy ones in the group.
We were 100%. Absolutely.
As we were talking about earlier.
Yep. Yeah. We were those guys for sure. And that was good. And like, actually, like, I believe our CEO loved us for that. And so that was really good. But, oftentimes like we were never a primary focus, like football and training, like those were always the major categories that's
Sure.
what was driving, and even though we had a very healthy business, that was the bigger opportunity. And so, we were never the primary focus. And, there was a handful of us there that actually hunted and fished. And, so that was a major change. When I got to First Lite, it was like, everyone's an expert. Everyone is the most hardcore consumer, from whitetail, waterfowl, Western, like everyone was an expert. They were an expert on gear. They were an expert on their pursuits. And on top of it, they were all very good at their jobs. And so like, that was very cool. It was the culture here for sure is, what was shocking to me in a very good way.
So now that you've been playing in the space for a while and you've worked at, Under Armour, can you speak to what it is that separates First Lite? And I know it's a hard question to answer, but I'm just trying to give you those who may have, it's still a relatively new brand. Is that fair to say? First Lite? Relatively, like, I mean, I think that there's sometimes I come across people and they're like, I've heard of it, but I don't really know about it. I was at the Ducks Expo in Memphis. And so I can only, not that I was having this conversation regularly, but I had it with one person and they were like, what camo because in the South, camo is everything, right? Like, yep. What's your camo pattern? I'm like, actually, we're on First Lite. Well, I've heard of them, but what's the deal with them? Like they've heard, but they don't really know. So I think there are those little pockets in the country where people have heard the name, but they don't really know. And that's why it makes me feel like it's somewhat of a relatively new or unknown brand in some places. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking back to my Under Armour days, there's a lot of people in Idaho that didn't know what Under Armour was. Honestly, and that brand had massive presence. But like Armor All, are you guys make the car protective products, right? Like no.
Right, that's funny.
But it was the same way, right? And so as I described Under Armour, an Eastern brand that was moving west, like that market penetration grew over time. And First Lite's definitely making its way east. I think, we have such a stronghold in the Midwest right now. Our whitetail business is doing extremely well. Waterfowl is really starting to take off, and we're heading south. So like those folks that don't know who we are, I will say when we were at the NWTF convention this last spring, we were shocked to how many First Lite logos we saw around. I mean, like blown away. In fact, at one point, one of the guys from Sika that we know came over here and he was like, have you guys just been seeding product down here like crazy? Like what is this? And we're like, dude, we are just as surprised as you are to see all these logos around here. So that was really good. And, I think especially as we pour more gasoline on the whitetail and waterfowl fires, that brand recognition is just continue to grow.
For sure. And really where I was going with that is for those who might be watching and they're not as familiar with First Lite, that's obviously the point of this podcast, but like, what would your message be is kind of the overarching, I mean, you've obviously said the mission statement or the moniker, but like how would you say First Lite kind of separates itself from the other players in the industry, or, to describe it to waterfowl hunters who are, obviously wearing the, waterfowl hunting gear? How are you quickly going to sell them on who First Lite is and why they should consider using your products?
Try our merino base layers. Like it's such an easy handshake with our brand. That's like what we built our brand on back in the day was merino wool base layers. Our founders were big backcountry guys. They were big skiers, and they were using merino wool base layers in the ski space, and they were like, why is no one doing this? So they figured out in the hunt space. And so they figured out how to print camo on merino wool. They were the first ones to do it. And the business really took off from there because, it turns out hunters love to be warm even when they're wet. And more importantly, they love not to stink after a week in duck camp.
Some of them don't care regardless.
Their buddies do. Their buddies do.
But we do. Yeah. There's a few guys on our team that just have zero shits given about how they smell, but whatever. I kid partly. Well, that's a really interesting story, man. I appreciate you kind of giving me the back history on how that all got there. I mean, it's obviously was to even us when we were in the beginning stages of that negotiation, if you will. It was like, yeah, we've certainly heard of First Lite and we've seen this and that. It was still relatively new, of course, in the waterfowl space at the time. Because we were just saying this offline. When did waterfowl launch? Was 2022? Yeah, right. So like for us as waterfowl guys, we're not going to know as much likely because it's not in our wheelhouse. It's not playing in our space. But then we started having that conversation and we started getting familiar with it. And it was just like, my God, this is the best stuff we've ever worn. And it really is the FOMO factor of like the fear of missing out if I don't have a piece of everything that you guys have, which then let's transition to what the next big thing is. And I'm guessing that there's probably other big things, but the biggest thing is congratulations. First Lite has officially released the Forge Wader. Yeah. Woo! It's here. Finally. No more
Finally
waiting.
Is right. Finally is right.
So let's talk about why we're saying finally.
It was, man, it took years off of Pat and I's lives, getting it just perfect. Obviously, Pat came to us with just years of experience building just the most technical things. I mean, she worked for a company called Raven that does a lot of private contracting for the military. And I mean, like high tech stuff, like she was building like, I don't even know if I can say this on air, but she was building like parachutes that couldn't be seen by infrared, like just like crazy stuff. And then she went and worked for Sims for years. And, she knew waders inside and out. I mean, she knows manufacturing and garments inside and out, but she brought so much experience. And so she knew the right way to make waders, but also, this wader is different than anything that she'd ever built, and it's different than anything that the market has ever seen. And so, there was a huge learning curve that came along with it. And, we know that with the waterfowl customer and with waders in general, with submersible garments, like you get one shot, and it might take, if you don't nail that one shot right out of the gate, like it might take 4 or 5 years before you get another shot with that customer.
Never.
Yeah. Or maybe never, but I don't want to name names, but like we know of other brands and what their wader business has done after, they rush things to market and, they lost that customer right out of the gate. And so it had to be perfect, especially like what high-end waders are costing these days, and what our brand equity stands for, and making sure that we're there for our customer. We have very good brand equity with our customers, and this wasn't going to be something that we just rushed to market. Like it had to live up to our standards, but it also had to be a notch above everyone else. We had to give them a reason to go with First Lite because there are other great options out there, and we had to make sure that we were better. So
I want to ask, and I'm going to give you a minute to answer it because I have another question before that, but eventually I want to get to the question is what specifically, in your opinion, makes it perfect? But before we get to that answer, I want to ask, you talked about, and I forget, what did you say her name was?
Pat.
Thank you. That she worked at Sims.
Mm-hmm.
How many patents or licensings did you have to go through? I mean, there's a few different, it's not like you're just competing with one or two wader companies. I mean, there's a few that are out there. So is there anything that's out there patent pending that you couldn't play with her working at Sims and Sims being so successful, at least in the fishing space with what they've done? with waders. Was there things that you could kind of replicate, or there's things you couldn't touch because they had some sort of patent on that? What does that look like from an internal view?
That's actually a fantastic question. There aren't a lot of patents out there in the wader space, and design patents are tough to come by.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
design patents, utility patents, they're tough to come by because, and even if you get one, like there are workarounds where you can slightly tweak some stuff or change some things to get around them. But we actually have a patent on our wader design, which was huge, and our RIP attorneys were equally as surprised to see when our patent was approved by the USPTO. And so we have a patented one piece pattern design on our wader.
Wow. What makes the wader perfect in your opinion?
Just testing and retesting, and when something goes wrong in a submersible garment, when something goes wrong, like it can just be so many things. Honestly, just because water or air is coming out of one spot does not mean like that's the problem. Like if there's a hole in the seam tape on the inseam, but then it's coming out, like it could literally come out in the crotch. Like that's where it could find its way out. So there's so many, anytime anything goes wrong, there are so many different variables that you need to eliminate and thoroughly go through to make sure that it was one, and double confirm that it was what was the true source of the failure. And our whole impetus behind the design of this thing was make a wader that fails less. And outside of poking holes in something, which we understand happens. But we wanted to engineer a wader that had the least opportunity from failure from just like normal wear. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
so in a minute, I want to kind of talk to you about my first initial experience. And it's going to be fully transparent. That doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I'm just going to say that like the first time that I got them and I put them on and I hunted with them, for me, it was something different than what I was used to. I'm going to get to that here in just a second. So those who are watching, hang on for that. What is it though about this wader that is exclusive to First Lite, that is exclusive to that wader? Something that, I mean, you talked about just kind of that one piece, but can you get a little bit deeper into the weeds to give people a kind of a better idea of what makes this standalone to the competition?
Yeah, that's great. There's actually a couple things. So number one, the primary is the one piece pattern design. So anything that any garment that we're wearing, even the t-shirts that you and I have on right now, right? The different fabric, the fabric pieces get cut out. There's like 4 or 5 different pattern pieces that could get cut out and all sewn together. There's sleeves that get cut out, a piece of fabric and sewn together. Our forge wader is cut from just one continuous piece of fabric. Wow. It all gets rolled together in the middle, and then it gets sewn up one seam and down the other in one continuous motion. So there's no starting and stopping, which for those of you who are in the know that starting and stopping when sewing or seam taping is also like that's a big, there's a lot of room for error. All this, the more starting and stopping, so eliminate as much starting and stopping as we can. And then there's a center front zipper. So it's just like one pattern piece. And then our knee pads, we do have knee pads, but unlike a lot of other waders in the waterfowl market, our knee pads are bonded internally. So rather than having to poke a bunch of holes in sewing a knee pad onto the outside of the knee, ours are bonded internally. So again,
does that happen in that folding over process, that one before is that how that works?
Oh yeah, no, they get, so when that pattern is laid out, those knee pads get bonded into place before the whole thing gets sewn together. And so there's a lot that's happening on the inside that you can't see, which is good because you want that clean exterior. You don't want a whole bunch of seams on the outside because it's just one more place that can fail and the water can get in. So we've got those knee pads. We've got a thin layer of aerogel foam through the seat and the back of the legs. So these are, breathable, waterproof, breathable waders. They're not neoprene, so they're not insulated. So they're really giving you full 4-season performance. But if I remember my first experience and when I really appreciated it so much, but that Otherm foam, the aerogel foam, just it's what they insulate the space shuttle with, and it doesn't really insulate in the traditional sense that like down insulation, for example, works, where it's creating this dead air space that your body can heat up, or like a wetsuit, right? Like you're heating up that water that's around your body, that's helping keep you warm. It's actually creating a barrier to contact heat loss. So again, imagine a space shuttle. It's whatever degrees cold outside of the space shuttle, right? And so just like having that barrier to make sure that there's no heat loss from the space shuttle is the same way when you're standing in water. I mean, you can go hypothermic in 65-degree water if you stand there long enough, but just when you're in the water, making sure that there's a barrier so that you're not losing and dumping body heat from the largest muscle group in your body. That's what we're really going after. And also it makes it great for the early season too, because it's not creating dead airspace that is going to heat up the inside of your waders. It's just preventing contact heat loss. And so whether you're sitting on a snowy creek bank, right, like hunting small water, or you're standing in water where you're hunting timber all day, or like I actually had an opportunity to go body booting with Beretta. Shout out Joe Kniffy for taking me on that trip. But that was such an experience. But you are standing in chest deep water the entire hunt. I mean, for hours. And so you just having that barrier to contact heat loss was so important. But you're not adding the bulk. You're not adding anything that's going to overheat you if you are hunting in the earlier seasons or warmer climates was really important. So those are two major exclusives, things that have never been done in a wader before. And then our wader boot is an absolutely it's just a Ferrari.
That's where I was going to go next, because that is so in my opinion, it's the most important piece to the wader. That's just me. Not everybody agrees with that, but like the other things are a luxury. As long as I don't get wet, I'm fine. But the boot has got to do what it's supposed to do, which is it's got to fit right, and it's got to not feel like a moon boot, which back in the day when you were doing the neoprene boots, those you felt like you were walking on the moon. So talk about the boot.
It was such a great development with lacrosse that, they've been such a great partner. They obviously know what they're doing. And when we started out, we were like, let's build the best wader boot that's ever been built. And they were so on board with it.
Was that weird for them, being that they play in the wader space too?
It oddly wasn't. And I think just because like we'd had such a great relationship with them, we were already selling so many of their boots in our Spectre and Fusion patterns, and like we had a great relationship with them, and they were like kind of champing at the bit, like they wanted to elevate, they wanted to be like, yeah, no, like let's push the limits, like let's see how awesome of a wader boot that we can make. And that was very awesome. That was their design, their development team, the PLM team, everyone there was so great to work with, and they did just that. So, but actually, it was kind of a co-development. So, if you look at the Alpha Evolution, this is basically the Alpha Wader boot, which is on our wader, is the wader boot version of the Alpha Evolution. So this was kind of a co-development. They were like, no, like we have these aspirations to build this new boot that's just so high end, top of the line, ultra high performance, and huge, massive. It's got to be just like the primary part of their business is sure. their mud boot game and tall rubbers. And so they were like, yeah, there's a way here where we can kind of kill two birds with one stone, and we can get our sick mud boot out of it, and you guys can get this great wader boot. But I mean, this thing's got aerogel toe cap, aerogel underfoot. It's got 1,000 grams of Primaloft gold insulation. It's got a Vibram outsole. It's actually it's 14 inches tall, so it's the tallest wader boot in the market right now. Which just whether you're busting ice or just like dragging through brush, like it. Having that extended coverage of that vulcanized rubber as high emission as possible is just it's going to take the abuse on that rubber rather than on your fabric covers.
Yeah. How much did you get to challenge them? This is now me being the in the industry kind of a geek here, but how much did you get to challenge them or help them, or how much did you get to collaborate, or how much of it was that, hey, this concept was already pretty much built and you guys were there at the right place at the right time?
Um, I would say it's a little of both. And like we came in and we did give them that challenge. And I obviously don't know all the details of like what pieces of the puzzle they had in
Mhm.
place beforehand. But I would say like they were looking for the opportunity, and this gave them a reason why. And so gave them the reason to invest in all the tooling and the materials and the things that go into building a boot like that. So I think like it was probably something that they were pushing for internally from their product team for a long time, and like having us on board to help share in some of those costs was what really gave them the opportunity to do
Sure.
so. But
Win-win.
yeah, for sure. And we didn't bring a whole lot to the table. I mean, like this thing was, we told them how tall we wanted it to be. We told them that we wanted to have a universal boot size opening. So like we wanted all of the shafts to be the same circumference so that, you know, we could plug any boot on any size upper. But outside of that, man, like they're so good at what they do and building such a quality product that they were on it. Like I remember
Mhm.
our very first like literally outside of those two things, I mean, they just they knew it. They had the number, and they were able to deliver us such a quality product, and we're very, very excited to have it on our waiter.
Yeah, I love it when brands can collaborate on things like this, and there's no, even if they are playing in the same space, like obviously there is something to benefit for them. I mean, business is still business. I'm not trying to act naive to that, but like it, obviously I'm partnered with both, right? Our Heartland Waterfowl is, and so we work with Lacrosse and we work with you guys, and so from an outsider who's watching that, it's like, oh, we can all get along, you know, like, oh, let's all have a group hug and sing Kumbaya or something, you know. It was just, I know that sounds silly, but I mean,
It
it's just,
doesn't, and this is the month to sing it. Sing it
that's right.
loud.
That's right. So I love that. I would like to share kind of my initial thoughts on this. And again, this isn't to say, you know, good, bad, or whatever. It's just my initial thoughts because it is a waiter unlike any waiter I have ever worn before. And so um, there is the acclamation of just that psychologically. So whether you're a neoprene person or you're kind of an old school breathable waiter that is insulated, this is going to feel different. When I first got it, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to freeze my ass off. You know, not knowing really the technology of everything that you mentioned there with the heat retention from your own body, and then just kind of knowing how to layer. You guys obviously have your waiter pants, but for me, like I tried the waiter pants and I like the waiter pants, but I just like knowing that as soon as I get out of my waiters, you know, and I want to go to the diner or whatever, like I can still wear my 308s underneath them, you know, or whatever pant, and I'm perfectly comfortable inside of them. But where I was really going with it is that it took me a hunt or two to just, not that and I wasn't cold and I wasn't uncomfortable. In fact, I was very comfortable, but it was psychologically like, oh my God, like, am I going to be okay? I'm used to insulated waders. I'm used to the neoprene. These are much lighter and they're much more breathable, and I'm going to need to layer up more. And what I'm trying to mainly get across is that you might have that first impression or that first look or concern, but I'm telling you, as somebody who's tried them in the field and has worn them along with the other guys on our team, you should not worry about that. You can obviously, layering is important with anything that you do, but like you don't need to overthink this when it comes to wearing this particular waiter. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we wanted to build a 4-season waiter.
Mhm.
But what comes along with that too, and I'm going to use this opportunity to shamelessly plug a new product that we're launching
Let's
this
do it.
season.
Yeah.
But we have obviously, you know, you touched on our waiter pant, our rugged
Mhm.
wool waiter pant, which is just like it performs so well in the field. It looks so nice. It's like the nicest pair of sweatpants that you've ever worn, but like
Yeah.
also performs fantastic on the couch watching football after a morning
Sure.
hunt. Like it's really awesome, but it's also, you know, it's more of a jogger sweatpants style
Yeah.
waiter pant. But we're launching the primer puffy pant this summer or this
Oh.
season, which it's we call it a puffy pant because it's insulated and we get the SEO from calling it an insulated pant. But we were like, how could we make an insulated pant? Because when you look at the world and the market of insulated wader pants right now, which it's just tough. Like you're not wearing, you talk about like going in for breakfast or like into the gas station after a morning of hunt, and just not wanting to look like a complete goober. Like that is quite literally, I think, what I wrote on the product brief is like, build me an insulated pant that you could wear into breakfast and not look like an asshole. Like, and well, so
and as I started telling that story, and then I was like, God, am I shitting all over First Lite right now? Because I'm, but I was just being raw and authentic. Like truly, like, yes, there are, I will have that wader pant on the road with us. And there are times afterwards that I'll just be like, these are comfortable as hell. And I know for the rest of the afternoon, we're watching Saturday night or Saturday college football. I'm going to lounge in these suckers for the rest of the day. But for me, and there's a lot of people on our team that like wearing that exclusively with the waders. For me, I like having a pair of pants to wear, like maybe, because this has happened. There's been times, in fact, it did happen 2 years ago in Tornado Alley in Kansas. We thought that we were hunting water. And so I wore the wader pant that day. And it turned out that like, change of plans. I can't remember what the reason was, but there was like, we're going to have to go to plan B. We're going to have to hunt the field. I'm like, I don't really want to hunt the field in the wader pants, So I was like, I'm going to have to go back to camp. I'm going to get my regular pants on. I want something a little bit more rugged on. And so for that reason, I personally, and this is just a personal opinion, I like wearing, just a nice, comfortable pair, which you guys is with the stretchy fabric that you guys have in all of your pants is like, and I really love the 308s. Like they're my favorite. I am saying that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't feel uncomfortable wearing them as my layer underneath the waders. But I guess what I'm ultimately saying is that I'm glad that you brought up that you're also coming out with something else, because after I started telling my raw and authentic story, I was like, oh man, I don't know if First Lite really wants me to be saying that out loud.
No, man, that's what we're here for, authenticity. And I think like that's what just sets you guys apart, and what makes you such great partners for us as well, is that like we're always going to hear it straight from you guys. And but no, it was like it was a problem. Like how can we create wader layering that doesn't look like you've got, 2 sheep wrap around your legs, which, when we look at some of the insulated, wader layering pants and bottoms out there, that's what you end up looking like. And, you need to be able to transition. You have to be able to transition from a field hunt to a water hunt, or just from a morning water hunt into breakfast, or running into the grocery store. If how many times do you run to the grocery store after a morning hunt, especially when you're on the road, just to get provisions for camp. But no, it's funny that you say that, because we got a great new product coming in the primer pant, especially for late season layering.
When will that be available?
I was actually just Googling it. I'm not positive that it hasn't not launched yet.
Well, taboo on me for not knowing that.
Well, I'm literally the director of product, and I'm not positive, so I wouldn't.
You're right. I'll give myself some grace.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's launched yet. I do believe that if it hasn't launched yet, it's going to be coming here in September.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we've launched it yet. But yeah, it'll be coming in September, and it's definitely more of a late season pant. But again, it's going to help extend, and it's not just for waders either. Anytime, it just has that low pro foot stirrup, but it's a basic straight leg 5-pocket pant that doesn't look, you don't get diaper butt. It doesn't look like an insulated pant. It looks more like a 5-pocket like pair of jeans. But it does have 133 grams of Primaloft gold in it, so it's pretty damn warm.
Yeah, probably too warm in some cases. I mean, and you get to the end of the year,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, like I would wear just the 308s and maybe my merino base layer underneath that, and I would be perfectly fine. When I hear that, I think like, oh, McKay, that's what I'm going to be wearing at least in our season here locally in the Midwest, call it Kansas and Missouri. Like that sounds like something I'm wearing when we're running ice rippers and breaking ice and it's sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah, but you're also you're very familiar with late season honkers and how damn cold it can be, how cold it can be in the Dakotas. And
Mhm.
a lot of honker hunters, like, they want a full season bib as well. So we launched the LZ bib last year, which is
Right.
it's just the little brother of the forage wader. It's the forage wader without boots on it. It's got a couple
Mhm.
other bells and whistles more targeted towards field hunting, but we needed layers for that as well. So it works great under there. And it's just like the name of the game. And the waterfowl and whitetail market were a little bit slower to adopt these layering systems that Western hunters were much more accustomed to.
Mhm.
Just like having that kit, like even September elk hunting in Idaho, like I remember picking my dad up from the airport early September, and he was in flip flops, and it was 83 degrees, and we drove 2 hours north, and there 6 inches had snowed. And we're like fighting a snowstorm on the way, and then had to hike up the mountain in a snowstorm. And it's just like the Western hunter was just accustomed to mountain conditions, and they're always changing. You never know what you're
Yeah.
going to get, and it could be 83 at the base of the mountain, but then snowing and 35 at the top of the mountain. So the waterfowl and whitetail customer is definitely adopting that more and more. And we just need to make sure that we have the layering to go with it, because you can get so much more use out of your outerwear. Actually, like, if you adopt that, because you can get a non-insulated outerwear, but as long as you've got the layering, like, you can wear that outerwear on its own during the early season. And then, you can just build and build and build. Or, you've got mid layers that do both as well. That's honestly my favorite. And like, that's why we're heavily investing in the mid layer game, and why I'm so high on that Navigator hoodie and pant right now, because it gives you something that's durable enough to be worn as outer layer in the
Mhm.
early and mid season. And then it becomes a mid layer in the late season. And
The
under
Navigator
natural
hoodie
conditions.
is out now, right? But
Yeah. Yep.
is the Navigator pant out right
It
now?
is. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
I haven't tried the Navigator pant yet, but I do freaking love that Navigator hoodie. That thing is awesome. I got my first experience with it and actually nearly wore it every single day for the early Canada Goose season in North Dakota, because that's late August. And in North Dakota at that time, it's not uncommon to be, low 50s, mid 50s on that morning. And if you got any kind of wind, that's a little brisk. And that hoodie was just like the perfect, it was lightweight, and it was still, was able to retain the heat. Um, and it was able to wick, I guess, is that the term I want to use? That it was,
Yeah.
anyway, it was so perfect. It was so comfortable. And it was one of those that were like, okay, I want to lounge in this thing too. It wasn't just a hunting hoodie. Anyway, for whatever it's worth, hearing it from me and somebody who's worn it before. I try to keep these typically at about an hour, but I have a few more questions if you don't mind
Yeah.
me
For sure.
asking. Right now, the Forge Wader is available only in Taifa and Darkwater. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Is there any possibility that you will be providing this in a neutral color like you do some of your other products?
Oh gosh, I hope so. Yeah. No, it was such a long road to get this thing launched. We knew we wanted to launch in camo, but it's just like a natural extension that we would come out with a solid. And so, like, at the very next opportunity we have, like, we're absolutely going to add another a colorway there. But I think, like, what makes the Forge Wader, one of the things that makes the Forge Wader so awesome is its size range. I mean, we have the biggest size range as far as like boot combinations with different inseam lengths and upper circumferences. And so one of the keys to having a wader and improving longevity and time in the field is making sure that it fits right. Especially if you're going to spend a lot, if you're going to spend $1,100 on a pair of waders, like, it better fit like a glove. And not just from like an experiential standpoint, but like, it also drastically improves how the thing wears and just wear points and what seams are falling under pressure. So
Mhm.
this thing fits like a glove. And honestly, the fact that we got the fit so dialed with a one piece pattern, because seams help articulation, they help shaping. And I think that was one of the major hurdles and challenges that we overcame. And honestly, it wasn't that big of a challenge. We got very fortunate. I'm so blessed to work with such a talented team, and Pat, who's got so much experience in patterning and fit, to get it there. But yeah, we there's so much articulation built into this thing for not having hardly any seams in it, and like no knee darts. Like, it's just it's a lot, but I kid you not, like I'm very, very familiar with our competition's product. And I'm not just talking about our friends in Bozeman, but just, across the country. And
Mhm.
like, it's it's tough to like, and I'm a tall guy. It's like tough to bend down and pick stuff up, and without fitting, having a waiter that fits like a trash bag. Like, it's tough to have a tailored waiter that you can move in, that you can squat down in. And
Mm.
like, there is no movement. I can high kick in these things. I can squat down into a catcher stance. Like, they fit so well. And so that's just like such an important part of that, just like building. You talk about, well, why did it take so long to make it perfect? And it's like,
Yeah.
because we really went through every ends to make sure that we had the best fitting, the highest performing, the most durable, and a truly, innovative design, patent pending. But
Sure.
patent's been accepted by the trademark office, so
Nice. Nice.
we got a
Well,
little level of protection there.
you bet. Well, kudos to you guys for the proactive vision that you had, even though it was, I don't want to call it, was it a tumultuous road, or at least a frustrating road that you were on, because you were just so close so many times to having it done. And then at the last minute, it's like, nope, pull the plug. We're not ready yet. Not pull the plug entirely, but like hit the pause button.
Yeah.
We're not entirely ready yet. We're going to push it back another year. I mean, this has been at least 3 years in the making, it feels like.
Yeah, no, we hit the pause button twice, in 23 and in 24,
Right.
where we got ready to enter production. And I'll also say, like, it's one thing to make 10 perfect waiters. It's another to like scale that to bulk production and mass production. And so that, there was so much that went in. Pat and I spent, 3 weeks on the factory floor
Wow.
in Asia. Like, I ate so much boiled fish. It was so much.
Need a break.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. My digestive tract, like, that was a rude awakening for it, those 3
Sure.
weeks. But no, it's from conception all the way through the wear testing and then the manufacturing process, just to make sure that everything is dialed in. So, yeah, just to bring it full circle, we get one shot at this out of the gate, and just making sure that we had thought of everything, that everything had been tested, and that all of our manufacturing processes were absolutely dialed.
Yeah, and we've talked about other companies in the past who have rushed things, and and that's not, I don't want to say it's common. It's certainly not uncommon for that to happen. And it's not by design that those companies do that. It's just a mistake, then things happen. But what I'm mainly trying to echo here is that if you're listening to this and you're in the market for a new waiter, or you're just really intrigued with this conversation, like, the peace of mind that you should get from this conversation is that First Lite took 3 years to release this, because they were so meticulous and so dedicated to making sure that it was perfect, and not just perfect for the average person, but perfect for the guys who are 6'4" plus, like Logan and I. And so that whether you're, big in the waist, or, tall, like, this is going to fit like a glove for every person who walks this earth. I would, I mean, maybe unless you're like 8 feet tall, then we might have to have another conversation, but those are very rare. So, I'm just really proud of you guys that you were able to, just fight the grind, because it was such a long grind, and there's something to celebrate here, because, you've now, you can celebrate, the hard work and the patience that you put towards this project.
Yeah, no, on launch day, Pat actually brought in a bottle of tequila for the two of us, and she said, about 4:30, you and I are going to crack this open. But no, it's been great. And it has, I had a full head of hair before we started this process, and now there's nothing under this ball cap right now. But I'm right there with you. Yeah, you and I have been going to the same barber lately, but
yes.
It was totally worth it. And it's honestly, it's been a labor of love, and it's been something that I am absolutely the product that I'm most proud of in my career.
Good.
And I've had like the best people around me to work on this with, and we are really excited to see what everyone else thinks.
A couple more questions before I let you go. One thing that you mentioned on before was the LZ bib and the LZ jacket. And so is that material that's in the LZ bib and jacket the same that is in or comparable to the same material that you said is in the Forge Wader?
So it's very close. So both are 4.5 layer constructions, meaning that there's a face fabric and then there's two waterproof membranes, and then there's a backer fabric, and then the half layer is a print on the inside that helps to manage moisture and heat. But but yeah, the Forge Wader features a nylon face, where the LZ bib and jacket features a polyester face. It's a little bit lighter.
Okay.
So you got a heavier duty nylon face on the wader, and then it's still got those two waterproof membranes in the middle, and then the same backer. So just a little bit heavier, and then going with nylon, which is a little bit more durable on the face.
The reason I asked that is I'm trying to bring this full circle again. Is I remember the first time, or at least one of the first times. Let's just say it this way. It was the first time that I really understood the technology of the LZ jacket. We were in North Dakota in November, and the wind, it was cold, but it wasn't like sub-zero cold. I mean, it was just, maybe 20s, which is still cold to many people, but I'm just saying that, like,
Especially with wind.
We've been worse, but yes, the wind was whipping that day. And I'm typically like, my kit, if you will, is like the primer vest with the hoodie, maybe the merino base layers underneath, the 308 pants, and that's it. Like, I just want to, I don't want a lot, but the wind was whipping so bad that I was like, I can't do this anymore. And there was some rain in the forecast, so I wanted the LZ jacket there for the protection of the rain. And I said, I'm going to put this jacket on, and I thought, but this thing doesn't have any insulation to it. Like, this is going to keep me warm. I could not believe, as light as it was, meaning that there was no insulation in it, how much it cut the wind and retained my body heat. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm sold. And so where I'm ultimately, again, going with that, and I say that a lot in this podcast, it seems like, but like when you see these waders for the first time and you're accustomed to having neoprene or a insulated breathable wader, let me just tell you from my experience that Logan is telling me right now that this material is very comparable to the other. And we talk about, body heat retention, and the ability to cut down that wind. Like, this fabric is something unlike anything I've ever seen before. And perception isn't reality when you look at it.
Yeah, no, and I would say, like, that fabric that for the LZ jacket and bib, that that was developed for the shale of sheep country. Like, that it's featured in our Omen jacket, storm shelter, and jacket and pant. And like, it is a do it all heavy duty rainwear system that was, like I said, was developed for Alaska, developed for sheep country. Like, wear it all day through alder choked hellholes, as Ranella would say. But it's just like, it is meant to beat the crap out of, and this stuff is even more durable than that nylon face is. So we started with something that was already, because we evaluated very early on just using the same fabric, and we were like, how, can we make it more durable? Because, like, if you can, why not? And
Right.
we found that by moving to the nylon face, that we were able to get even more abrasion resistant out of it. So yeah, even though that it feels lightweight, it feels very pliable, it certainly holds up to abuse, that's for sure.
Okay. Before we hit you with some 4 quick fun questions, let me just give you an opportunity to mention anything else on the horizon that's on its way from First Lite. If you can, or if you're comfortable with sharing.
No, that's a good question. We've got most of our big launches done for this season. We do have a new timber pack that's coming this fall. That it's my everyday backpack. I love this thing so much, but like, I obviously love, it's designed, I mean, it's optimized for hunting the timber, but it's so awesome. It's super low profile. It gives you this, it's got this great coffee table mode that, yeah, with like almost like a cutting board backbone in it, so that you can set coffee on it. You can put, like, again, like, you first get to the hole in the morning, like, there's not a piece of dry ground anywhere to set anything down on. So it's got a built-in tree strap, and then it's got a carabiner gun hook that you can clip onto the outside of that tree strap. But just the ability to have a place to set stuff, whether it's your headlamp or gloves or,
Sure.
like I said, a thermos of coffee or a coffee
What's
mug.
the surface space on that?
The surface space is about of the like the coffee table mode itself, like when that panel is folded down and it's supported by the straps. It's I would say it's, oh gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. It's actually upstairs right now, but I would say like
Yeah, if you had to guess.
if I had to guess, probably like 11 by 14.
Okay.
So it's a significant size. Like
Yeah.
it's a good spot to set something.
Sure.
And then it's got, the Molly panels on the side, for FHF accessories, which is really good because, you can attach either the shot shell holders or any number of the pouches that they make for the outside. So you can really customize this thing to run it however you want. So versatility and low profile is the name of the game, but like just being smart about carrying capacity, because again, when you're hunting the timber, like you're not driving your truck out there. Like it's not like hunting a field or even like you can't load up the boat. I mean, you sometimes you're fortunate enough to be able to get a boat all the way in there, but a lot of the time, like you're floating decoys in behind you. You have a bag of decoys, on your back already. You've got your shotgun slung over your shoulder. Like you're carrying all of this stuff into the hole. Maybe like
that's the young kid playing hunting public land game. That's I've been there, done that.
So just like having a smaller pack that you can stick your essentials in and that you're going to be able to actively hunt out of, right?
Right.
Also, like you don't want a massive pack. Like you might have a tree that you're like trying to hide behind that's 14 inches or 20 inches wide. Like you don't want this massive thing that's calling attention to yourself. And so it's low profile, and it can be worn as a backpack. It can be worn crossbody. You have the opportunity to, plug in the shoulder straps crossbody as well, which is really awesome. And so it's made to hunt the timber. It's a really, really good size and smaller than our ground control pack, which is the ground control pack is awesome, but it's just like, it's kind of the kitchen sink pack. Like it's bigger. It's got a lot of carrying capacity, and it doesn't have the built-in tree strap, which is a built-in tree strap. And my favorite thing about this pack is the carabiner gun hook. Just being able to, reach your arms around, snap that thing together, and then pull that carabiner gun hook out and snap it on it. I mean, you can hang stringers of ducks from it. You can hang your shotgun from it.
Wow.
You can hang e-collar remotes from it. Like, it's just like, that one little detail is something that I think also separates this pack from everything in the market. But it's also like, it's going to be like $150. Like it's like a very, very accessible piece of gear that I think like anyone who really hunts green timber regularly is going to be like, wow, like they actually knew what they were talking about when they did that. So selfishly, I'm like very, very excited for that piece. And then the second piece I'm excited for is a $40 item, and that is our new rugged wool gloves. So that fabric that those wader pants are made out of, it's a super heavy duty merino wool. We made some gloves out of, and it's just like the best $40 pair of gloves you'll ever own. They're durable as hell. They've got a super durable silicone grip print, which our previous merino gloves are so awesome. Like we sell a bunch of them, but it's really like they don't have any grip. Like it's really hard to grip stuff with. And then everyone can claim like how the e-touch fingertips, like using your phone, but no one's works. Like they're bad. Like they don't work. And so like we found this Axwade material that highly, highly conductive. It works so well, but it's also ultra durable, and it doesn't add any bulk. It's super durable. It's really good stuff. So like these liner gloves are going to be essentials in everyone's pack. I don't care if you're a whitetail hunter, a waterfowl hunter, a Western big game hunter. So there's a really technical product there that I'm super excited for in the hanger timber pack. And then also the rugged wool gloves are going to be a home run.
We don't do a lot of flooded timber, and so I could see where that would be a game changer for anybody down south who gets to hunt flooded timber. I'm trying to figure out how I can make an excuse to get that and how I could use it, like say in a panel blind or something. You'll have to, get my creative
Well, you
visions
can.
going?
It's good, especially the panel blind, because panel blind's a great opportunity because you actually this thing has a vertical orientation, so everything is hung in front of you. So if you've ever seen like a medic style pack for like a tactical pack where
Mhm.
it opens up and you've got everything right there
Yeah.
in different pouches and compartments, that's how it works.
So I could literally hang that from the top
Yep.
frame of the panel blind and then and just open it up like, here's my closet
Yep.
of everything I
Totally.
need.
Totally
Okay.
right, and
Well, now
everything's
I'm
right in
sold.
front of you.
Now
Yep.
I'm
No.
sold.
Yeah, no, it works awesome in the panel blind. It actually works awesome in, I mean, pretty much everything but a layout blind. Like anywhere where you can hang that sucker in front of you,
Yeah.
it's ideal. And also panel blinds, as soon as you get a bunch of dudes in there and all your gear and dogs and like it is close quarters and like not being that guy with just like the massive pack that everyone's tripping over. So yeah, no, it does a great job in the field as well.
Okay. Well, now I'm very intrigued about that, but I'm also very, very, very interested because I'm that guy who, once the hands go cold and the feet goes cold, I'm screwed for the rest of the hunt. So feet and hands and protecting them from the elements is like the most probably as important as protecting my head, if not more. Because it is crazy. Once those extremities get cold, I'm screwed. So the rugged gloves that are new for this year, I'm definitely interested in as well. We are about out of time, so I'm going to hit you with, unless you have anything else. You have
No,
anything
sir.
else? Okay, so I'm going to hit you with 4 questions. These are the same 4 questions at the end of the podcast I did with Nolan and I did with the guys from Dirty Duck Coffee and Terry over at Mojo Outdoors. We'll start with this one. These are corny as hell, so I prepare you in advance. What's the most ridiculous superstition you've ever had or heard of about waterfowl hunting? That's the fun part about
That's a
doing these
that's a
questions
good
because it
one.
makes you think, and we want that first thing that comes to your mind.
I just think like everyone is superstitious about their calls. Like everyone has got their favorite call that they're like never going to leave home with. I've got one on my lanyard that I never leave home with and I never blow it in the field. You know what I mean?
Really?
It's just like, yeah, it
What's the
was old.
sentimental value to it?
It was old. I'm pretty sure my grandpa gave it to me and it
Okay.
doesn't even really sound good, but I just like, I don't know. When I'm out there, I feel like I don't know. I think back to the days of him and like blowing on it in
Yeah.
Saginaw Bay.
Okay,
And
I
like,
like that because that's not like wearing the same pair of underwear 30 days in a row or something. Like this is something that's more like heritage or tradition or generational that's been passed down from a grandfather. So I like that answer. That's really
no,
good.
but I truly think it makes me a better waterfowler. It certainly doesn't make me a better caller, which
Okay.
I'm not a very good caller to begin with, but no, I truly believe just like having that piece of him and thinking about, all the birds he used to kill back
Sure.
in the day, like it's like my good luck charm. So that's a little superstition in there.
I like it. Okay. Now, this one is probably the least liked question of all the people that I've asked it. But if someone made a Hollywood movie about the real behind the scenes life of Logan Williamson, who would play you? And it says, what would the title be? But I'm not going to make you think that hard. Who would play you? What Hollywood actor? Like, have you ever been approached? Like, there was one time when I was living in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm telling this story to give you time to think. When I was living in Tucson and I was at a charity event for the radio station I was working for at a bowling alley, and literally some dude walked up to me and said, "Are you Cal Ripken Jr.?"
Ha! That's so funny. You are. I've had the pleasure of meeting Cal a couple times.
I bet you have, being in Baltimore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he had close relations with Under Armour, but you guys look shockingly alike.
There's
Like
some
now that you
similarities
say it,
there.
absolutely.
I had never heard that one before, except for that one time. But have you ever had those moments when somebody has come up to you and said, "Man, you look like this particular celebrity"? And so maybe that might help you in trying to answer this question of what Hollywood star would play play your part.
My heart says Ryan Gosling, but we just both know that that's not true.
I can kind of see it.
No,
I
no,
can
no,
kinda
no,
see it.
no, no. I'm just bullshitting. I would love it if maybe it were him, but that's such a great question.
Maybe you ask your fiance, like, what is the movie star that you think I best resemble?
Yeah, I might have to get back. I might have to get back to you on that one. I
I'd be
do
curious
feel
to know
like,
what she says.
yeah, No, she would know better than me.
There's probably an app out there somewhere where you can take a selfie and say, who do I look like? You know, you always see that on social media. All right, moving on. Which invention changed waterfowl hunting more? The layout blind, the spinning wing decoy, or the cell phone?
Not the layout blind, but it's tough for me. It's tough between the spinning wing decoy and I'm going to say spinning wing decoy.
Wow.
Yeah. No, final answer. I'm pretty set on that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, like guys were because you could give a guy a spinning wing decoy from 40 years ago. You could just give it to him in the morning, be like, hey, this is the latest and greatest invention. Like, here it is, and like do something with it. But you could give someone and like they could immediately make it effective. Immediately. Their very first
they could kill ducks over it.
Immediately.
They could go out there with 1 or 2 spinning wing decoys and kill ducks, and they could go out there with 5 dozen duck decoys and not kill a thing because they didn't know how to set them up.
Yep. But the phone, like it just there's a bigger learning curve there, I think, in like making it work for you, and just like, and I'm not saying it's not an incredible resource or something you need to have in your bag, like just scouting. I don't care if you're waterfowl hunting, western hunting, like whitetail hunting, like just it is the biggest scouting tool that you can have in your bag. But just like if I'm thinking of someone from 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, and if you handed them either tool, like what could they be most effective with? Like, again, you could give someone a spinning wing decoy, you know, from 50 or 60 years ago, and like they could immediately kill birds with it.
It's a really good answer. It's a really good way of answering that question, because the cell phone and the spinning wing decoy have been the 2 most popular answers. I have been saying over the course of the summer of doing these podcasts that it's the cell phone, but you, in your reasoning behind picking the spinning wing decoy has made my decision a little bit more complicated. I will say that you really gave a really good answer to that. All right, final question. What's the one thing you wish non-hunters actually understood about waterfowl hunting?
It's just the environment. I remember growing up across the street from a marsh here in Western Michigan, just like a little tributary of the Grand River. And I remember going out there with my dad when I was a little kid. Like we obviously weren't hunting. Like we'd go out there and blow some calls, just a dad hanging out with his son. But I just most vividly remember the sunsets over the marsh, and it just like you can hear the bugs, and it's late summer, early fall, and it's just like everything is so golden when the sun starts to set over the marsh. And it's just like I vividly remember those memories from like 3 years old of just it being just like peace. Just like the peace the outdoors brings you. And you don't have to just be duck hunting, but whitetail hunting too. I found tremendous peace, you know, hanging 20 feet up in a tree. But it just, I remember most vividly, those are my earliest memories of just like true peace and like beauty. And it was the marsh across the street from our house. And so, you know, if there was one thing that I would want to, you know, try to impose or explain or give examples to a non-hunter about the best part of waterfowl hunting, it's that's number one. This is a 2-part answer. It's definitely like the peace in the marsh and just like the beauty of being outside. And number 2 is the camaraderie and social aspect. And that's what's different about whitetail hunting. That's what's different from western hunting, is like there's no solitude. Like even if you go out with just you and your dog, it's still it's you and your dog. It's still you and one of your best friends. Like it is a social aspect. And you can't sharing those moments with each other. There's nothing like it. It's one of the best. And you know, being in the outdoors and sharing in something you love with other like-minded folks and good-hearted people, that's what really that separates hunting from any outdoor activity, but specifically waterfowl is just like, it's a social sport. Even if you have a terrible morning, even if you get skunked, even if you froze your ass off or the canoe flipped, like, which I'm speaking from experience here, like it was still an awesome morning. It was still an incredible sunrise and an amazing place. And you know, nothing beats watching the sunrise or set over the marsh.
Agreed. You know, we were on the Big Honker podcast and Jeff Stansfield said it well. And I almost question if he stole the slogan from the Masters golf tournament, but he said, it's a fraternity unlike no other.
Amen.
So no, that's my answer. This is the camaraderie. And that's the thing that we try to do at Heartland Waterfowl is that, we're a team of brothers that have the same common cause. We have a passion for storytelling and high quality cinematography, high quality content distribution. And, we would not be able to do that without being partnered with great individuals and companies like you and First Lite. So I really appreciate you giving me nearly an hour and a half of your time to come on here, tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of the vision as a whole of the company First Lite and the excitement behind the new products that are coming out. Most importantly, the new forge waders that are available now at firstlite.com. I really appreciate you, Logan. I can't wait to share a duck blind with you sometime in the near future. I know that's part of the problem with you doing what you do is that you get to work in the outdoor industry, but the outdoor industry keeps you sometimes too busy to actually enjoy the outdoors. But let's try to make it a priority sometime in the near future, hopefully this season, where we can get you and Michael out to join us.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out this year, Ronnie, for sure. I'm not going to have it any other way. And thanks so much for having me on. This was so much fun.
You got it. Logan Williamson, First Lite Director of Product. Again, the Behind the Blind podcast brought to you by Double T British Kennels. More than 20 years, Double T British Kennels have imported dogs directly from Great Britain to build superior bloodlines. They're top of the line dogs, proven in the field in major field trials. Learn more at britlabs.com. Tell them Heartland Waterfowl sent you. Until next time, this is another episode of the Behind the Blind podcast.